Today we have an esteemed guest, Mercedes. So, Mercedes, can you please just get in a little bit about yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, my name is Mercedes Duchiecela, and I at the moment I work in as a senior program coordinator at the USA Center for Rural Public Health Preparedness, and it's a center where we do projects on research, and we do also programs, training programs for rural public health preparedness. I've also worked in international development in um, in Ecuador and in Latin America.
Super cool. Can you tell us like a little bit about like the type of people that you work with?
Like the communities, you mean? Like
Yeah, like
the
what communities and like where they're located.
Okay. At the moment, we are working in the border in South Texas, and also in the border, it's very far away. It's like 5 hours away from here, and it's very extensive. We work with through groups of community health workers and or promotoras. They are women that are sometimes they volunteer and sometimes they're paid um, and do their extension of what they work with communities. I mean, and they do training on diabetes, on, for example, high blood pressure, every preventative work. Also, we work with communities in Central Texas to review their plans, their emergency plans. So whenever, like, for example, hurricane season is coming, and we work with communities to see how prepared they are. Um, but this takes not only work with the communities, but we have to work with the local health departments, with the city government too. What else do we do? But mostly is we work with training them so they are able to do their planning and they're able to implement it too, because we don't live there, right? Also in Ecuador, we do a I do. We work with communities in the Andes, um, and we have my family has a nonprofit that does that it's called medical immersion Spanish. So they teach medical students and medical professionals, health professionals, Spanish in health setting. For example, when they come back, they're able to help a Hispanic population go through the medical system. And they also, like in the summers, they have health education campaigns with children. Um, and I've worked also with other type of programs with conservation and development in the basin, in the Amazon basin in Ecuador, where it's like indigenous communities own this huge land, but many people want to buy it from them and to do agriculture, and but there's a lot of species there. So we had taught groups of indigenous communities that they're able to preserve it, but also do other type of sustainable activities. So it's not destroyed, right? For example, they can do tourism, or they can do exotic fruits or nuts or anything like that, and they're able to sell it. Also, they are able to do in some areas, not all, cocoa beans and coffee, which are two products that are really high price commodities. Um, that's pretty much. Uh-huh.
I do have a question though. So like the people that you train, like what like demographic are they? Like are they usually the people in the US that go?
Right. Most of the people that we train, and my focus is really on community health workers, or promotoras or promotores.
Yeah.
They range from immigrants that have been here in the United States for a long time. Some of them are born here and they had just been raised in South Texas, for example, and they see that they want to help out. Other are community health workers that, for example, are also immigrants that had gone. They have like a degree, a university degree in their country, but when they come here, they're not able to work on that and they don't know that much Spanish, but they know a lot. So much of the classes of the training we do is also in Spanish and in English. Anything that we do in English, we have to do in Spanish and also at a level that they understand. Some immigrants have come with only like a third grade reading level, but they know a lot. They know a lot of like traditional medicine and how to communicate with their with other members of the family, with other families too. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in South Texas, in the border, it's very long. So it's divided between um, the Rio Grande, right? So on the Rio Grande, there's the lower Rio Grande, the middle Rio Grande, and then after that, it's El Paso, all the way to El Paso. So in the lower and in the middle Rio Grande, and probably a little bit more espacios, there's like developments. It's called colonias, and the colonias are not the same colonias they say in Mexico that are like neighborhoods. The colonias in Texas, in South Texas, some of them are underdeveloped. They don't have water, they don't have sewage. They were sold to immigrants, but they weren't developed. Electricity. So they live pretty much in very in very poverty lines. Um, but that is changing little by little. It's not all like that, but these promotoras and these community health workers have lived there for a while, have had contact with people there. So these are the people that we train in the center. Now, the promotoras have a certificate. So the Department of Health Service Texas was one of the first states that were able to certify community health workers. Um, when I say certify, is part of like the salaried professional, paraprofessional, right? So nowadays, we certify uh, community health workers in Central Texas, East Texas. Some of them all also cater to Hispanic populations. Some cater to Vietnamese population, Chinese, African American. So it's an incredible job because they are like the frontline workers, of
Mhm.
of, of the communities.
Yeah, that they're really making a difference. That's super
Yeah.
cool. Anything about that.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
I have another question. So what are like common motivations and like just themes of like reasons why people like immigrate to the US from their home countries?
There are many reasons. And in fact, one one of the projects I've been working on, and I don't know how to help him more because it's the problem is a little bit big. In Central America, eh, had a project that many of the families of that town. that town used to produce a lot of bananas and was an American founded company. And the company left because of political reasons of the union. It's another problem. But they left and they just so the people didn't have jobs. So they were left without jobs or anything. Also, they weren't left with opportunities to find educational or anything. So the people left. So the project was to see how the younger generation, children in elementary, could also be educated and have access to education and have access to sports. So I helped get a softball mitts and baseballs and stuff like softballs and stuff like that to send them there, so they're able to stay there and get like a complementary part of in their education, because most of their mothers were single head households, because most have either been deported or their husbands have left. Some of the reasons, most of the reasons is this lack of opportunities, lack of opportunities educational, a lack of opportunities of um economical, right? So also a little bit is this well, not little. It comes in waves, Matthew. It comes in waves. So we have the wave right now of the Cubans and of the Venezuelans, where they are very insatisfied with their government, and there are not opportunities. There's little flow of cash,
Yeah.
so there's jobs and stuff like that. So they're unsatisfied and they're really desperate. Mm, So they are coming in waves. Now you've probably heard the Darien through Panama and all this, and through Ecuador that are coming through. They're coming through all the way from Africa, from China, and also, so it's really, I believe that most of it is in satisfaction of economic, and it comes in waves. We've always had migration. Believe me, it's not like we've had this country was in migration. We've always had migration, but lately it has been mainly in satisfaction of governments and the way of living in their countries. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of corruption too in there, and governments have not been putting attention to that.
Yeah, and I feel like a good way to like just get more like you said like have more economic stability in like these like communities is just like tourism. I feel like that would just like you said get the cash flowing more and just they need that.
Exactly, exactly. For example, all these countries like all these countries in the Andean region are they're non really, most of them are non-producers of, let's say, the D word. I don't know if we can say that in YouTube, but we are the distribution, right? So imagine if we put that effort in tourism. We have better mark infrastructure, better customer service,
Mm.
things to see, people that want to see fresh nature, um, nice houses, another environment, nice climate, other kind of fruits, other kind of things. There could be a lot of and there's a lot of economic opportunities. Look at Costa Rica. There's Costa Rica does not have an military, and they were able to sell, have an exchange of environmental fund. so they wouldn't be touching their environment, but get money with it and then investing it. Now, I don't know if they're doing that currently. How is it going? Of course, it always changes little here and there, but they have been able to maintain that. Um, and we are Ecuador is a small country too, and but we have probably more diversity, the three regions, the hot spots, the species. um it can be done. um
For sure.
so that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Ecuador definitely has the potential too.
Yep. Hmm.
So my next question is because I know there's like a lot of like I know children get affected with immigration a lot, whether it's like they're forced to like leave their hometown with their families or maybe they like, lose a parent to go immigrate. So their parents like trying to get work and money in the US and support their family. Like how do you see this affects the children and like their growth?
Right. I think, and I think that is my major concern right now, is because we are affecting a whole generation, not only in Latin America, but here in the United States. Because imagine they come through a treacherous route, they come here and they're trying to establish themselves. Now, when they come here, re, let's say they come here 4 or 5 years old, even some babies, but let's say 4 or 5 years old, and they're trying to get into the educational system without language, with not knowing what to do at a developmental age where they need support,
Hmm.
not only support in clothes and food, emotionally and developmental, you
Yeah.
know? So we are losing a whole generation. And a classic example of that right now, and I mean, it's because, oh, how do you know that, Scap? We know that with the DACA people, DACA, the deferred action, the one where it's the policy, the law that said that children that had come in with their parents before, I don't know, certain age, I think it was 10 years old or 11. I don't know how. I think they didn't have the age group, but when they came in with a minor, they're able to they have a legal documents to to be able to live here and to be able to work. You know how long has that passed? It's probably 25 years. It's
Yeah.
a whole generation. A generation is really between 25, 30 years. So we see right now that living young professionals, because they've been able to go to school and everything, um, still living in the I don't know what's gonna happen, because still DACA is still in Congress and being not being able to being reaffirmed. They stopped doing applications, for example, and some of them have moved on, but they were able to like get married, get their citizenship and everything. So, but we haven't had studies about that. How really, what is that emotional turn of waiting to be here in the United States legally with
Hmm.
documents? So, yeah, the children, and then that's the part here. Then the part over there in in our countries where there's been migrations and they're left behind with grandparents or the neighbor or with somebody, they live they also without that support, the developmental support, that a family needs. So yeah, it affects a whole generation, and they're not safe. The part right now that I'm also worried is that for them it's not safe because there's a lot of human trafficking too. Oh, whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my town, we have like this like program called MFE. So and and like in MFE we have like this subsection called like entrenadores. So
Uh-huh.
so it's like a volunteer thing. So it works with like younger immigrants from Latin countries, and like younger is in like elementary school, and like and the older ones are like middle school, high school. So I volunteer and like I help with like the older like middle school, high schoolers. And I
Oh,
feel like,
that's great.
yeah, and I feel like some benefits that I guess you could kind of say is like I feel like they're more adaptable than like most kids, because my sister's like the same age as like some of the kids that I work with. I feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely like could be more adaptable because like compared to her and her friends. And also
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like they're also just I know it's just like a small group that I've worked with, but they're also like I feel like it helps them like grow and learn a lot because like they learn English, like most of them learn English pretty quickly, and like they're all very smart. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it definitely has
Exactly. Imagine if they had all that support, if they had every that opportunity to do that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, do you think like given the choice, like would most people like you said, like most people immigrate because of like poverty, but like would you say most people would want to stay like if they didn't have any like issues and were completely financially stable and they're like there wasn't corruption, would they like choose to immigrate to the US, or would they prefer to like stay in their home country?
I think they would prefer to stay in their home country. I really, I've gone back and forth on this. I'm not, I'm going to be truthful about this, but the more I think and talk to people about it, they prefer, um, if they're fine, they have the house and everything, they prefer to stay, in their home country. And, but it also depends, for example, if they have family abroad, right?
Yeah.
And then there is that question about them to be reunified. But I think 80% of the people, if you ask them, they rather stay, they would rather stay.
Yeah.
Or also they say, I'll just come back. I've seen a lot of like people working here 20, 25 years, achieving what they need to achieve and just go back. And up to the moment, I don't know if that's good or I don't judge or bad, but it happens too. Um, but I think 80% they would rather stay. They wouldn't want to go through the whole treacherous job, route.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. And that's like
I
kind of
think,
why
mhm.
it's kind of why
Yeah,
I feel like teaching like younger kids English in those countries will help them like be able to stay.
yes, yes, that's an opportunity. See, that's what I think. Um, if they're able, if children are able to obtain opportunity, access, for example, not only that, well, economically, but teaching them English, for example, or just teaching them to read more or health or anything new, it's an opportunity for them to get a better job
Yeah.
and better, like, feeling better about themselves that they can do it, and that's what I think that they're able to say, hey, I'm able to learn just to read a little bit more English and talk a little bit more. For them, it's just one more step.
Mhm. Okay. That's all my questions.